tutorial, I will explain event programming for Excel workbook with some real-time examples. Events are actions that are performed by a user. In simple way, I would say when we perform any action in Excel, that is event, like opening workbook, adding sheet, closing workbook, and so on. I will explain following workbook events with VBA programming here. Workbook open event, workbook activate event, workbook new sheet event, workbook before close event, workbook before delete event, and workbook window activate event. So let's start with first example, that is for workbook open event. We can use workbook open event to run macros or VBA code automatically upon opening Excel file. One real-time example I would like to share in this example is loop through all sheets in any workbook. So here we can see that I have just one sheet in this workbook. So let me add few more sheets here. And then what I'll do, I'll press F11, Alt and F11. Once we press Alt F11, we reach to Excel VBA editor window. Here on left hand side, I will double click on this workbook, and then from first drop down we can select workbook, and by default it shows workbook open event. Now on second drop down, if I click here, we can see there are many event. So out of this I am selecting just this one, which is workbook open event. So whatever VBA code I will write here, once I open this workbook, that VBA code will be executed. So let me write a message here first. MSG box hello, and then I want to loop through all the sheets. So code is dim a as integer, and then a equal to application dot worksheet dot count. So what this line will do, it will count all the sheets in this workbook and assign that number to a. Now I'll use for loop for I equal to 1 to a, closing statement of for loop, which is next, and here I will activate each sheet worksheets within brackets I dot activate, and then active sheet dot cells. Let's say I want to write sheet name of each sheet in cell A1. So active sheet dot cells 1 comma 1, that means first row first column, cell A1 dot value equal to active sheet dot name. So what this code is doing, first we will get message saying hello, and then all these sheets this code will count. It will loop through all the sheets and assign sheet name to cell A1 on each sheet. So this code we have written on the workbook open event. So let me close this VBA editor window and save this file. On desktop, let's give name as master file. We can select Excel macro enabled workbook and save this file. Now I'll close this Excel file. Here we can see master file. Once I open this file, I am getting message hello. Once I click on this OK, we can see that on each sheet we have sheet name. So why it has happened? Because we have written code on workbook open event. So this is first example. Let's move on to second example. Second example is for workbook activate. Workbook activate event is helpful when we have multiple workbooks opened, and out of multiple workbooks we want to access a specific workbook. So here in this example I have two workbooks opened. One is master file. Name of second workbook is testing. So let me go to master file. Let me click on Alt F11. I have already selected first workbook, which is master file. First drop down, I have already selected workbook. Here from second drop down, let me select activate. So here between these two lines, whatever code I will write, that will be executed once I activate this workbook. So let me write code as MSG box active workbook dot name. So whenever I will activate this workbook, then this event will be executed and I will get message, and in message I will get name of this workbook. So same event I will select in second workbook. Let me click Alt F11 and then I will double click on this workbook for second workbook. Select workbook, but I don't need this workbook open event. So I will select activate. Let me delete these two lines. So on left hand side we can see that we are on testing workbook. So I will write code MSG box active workbook dot name. So this is very creative example. Whenever I will click on this workbook, it will give me name of this workbook, and when I will select the first workbook, we can see that activate event is executed and we are getting message, and in message we are getting name of workbook. So let me activate second workbook. We are getting name of workbook in message box. Why? Because workbook activate event is executed. So this is how we can utilize workbook activate event. Let's move on to third event. Next event is NewSheet Event. So this event is very useful. Sometimes we have multiple sheets in workbook, and when we insert new sheet, then we want new sheet to move to end of workbook. Let's say if we have 50 sheets and we insert new sheet, then it is very time consuming and hectic task to move towards end. So manually, if I select sheet 2 and add new sheet here, new sheet is inserted between sheet 2 and sheet 3, and now I will move this sheet to end. But here we have just 5 sheets or 4 sheets. It is easy to move towards end. But in case we have multiple sheets like 20, 50, then it becomes tough task. So here in this example, I'll show that how we can use new sheet event that will perform this task. So let me click on Alt F11 and I will select new sheet event. So this is new sheet event. Within bracket we can see by value sh as object. So sh is used for sheet. So I will write code here sh dot move space after colon equal to sign sheets, in brackets I'll write sheets dot count. So this one line of code will move new sheet to end of the workbook. So let's see how it is working. Again I'm selecting sheet 3, and here if I click on this plus sign to insert new sheet, this time we can see that sheet is automatically moved to end after sheet 7. So very simple. Using new sheet we can automate this time consuming task. Let's move on to next example. So next event is before close. Before close event executes before the workbook closes. One real-time use of this event could be saving all changes that are made within workbook. So in this example, VBA code will always save the workbook if it has been changed. So let me click on Alt F11, and from second drop down I will select event before close. So this is before close event. So code I'll write here, if me dot saved equal to false, then me dot save. So let me minimize this. Let me make some changes or write something here. And then let me close this workbook. I'll open this again. We can see that data is saved. Let me show the code again. So this one line of code will save all the data or all the work that we have performed before closing the workbook. Let's move on to next event. So next event I want to discuss here is before delete. So this is sheet before delete event, and this example will show when we delete any sheet, what is the name of that sheet. Sometimes we are in hurry and we delete sheet ignoring the fact that that sheet has important data in it. So this event is useful at that point in time. Let me click on Alt F11. Let me select workbook. From second drop down, I will select sheet before delete. So this event is workbook sheet before delete. Code is very simple. MSG box in bracket, I would say sh dot name. So it is just a kind of reminder we will receive in message box before sheet gets deleted. So let me go to Excel file. If I want to delete sheet 3, so I'll right click, delete. I'm getting the message sheet 3. Let me press OK. So what we have checked that event where we have written just a small piece of code. So that event is before sheet delete. So it may not necessarily like we need all these events every time, but yes, out of these events, any of the event we can utilize while working on any report automation task or while working on automations in Excel. So let's move on to next event, which is window activate event. So last event I want to discuss here is window activate. Window activate event occurs when any workbook window is activated. So here in this example, workbook window will maximize itself automatically when it is activated. So this is first workbook. Second workbook is this testing workbook. We can see that it is not in maximize status. So what I'll do, I'll click on Alt F11 and in this second workbook which is named as testing, I'll select workbook and event, I will select window activate. Let me delete this by default event. Here in this window activate event, we can see within bracket by value space wn as window. So code I'll write wn dot window state equal to Excel maximized. So let me minimize this VBA editor. I am on first workbook. Now I'll move to workbook that is in minimize or in less size status. We can see that it is automatically maximized. Why? Because we have written code at window activate event. So this is how we have seen that there are so many workbook events, we can use any of these events to automate regular activities that we perform in Excel. I hope this tutorial is helpful. If you have any question around events or event programming in Excel, you can write into comments or you can send me email. You can subscribe to my channel for getting notifications about new VBA tutorials. Thank you.